What's up, everybody? It's Chelsea here. It's been a little while since I've done a video kind of chatting one-on-one, so I want to do a video about Formula D in 2018 and a little bit about professional drifting as a whole, and also just, drifting under the entire umbrella, how everything's going for me and for quite a few other things and people. So 2018, I'll be driving with RTR again. I'm super stoked on that. It's been an amazing opportunity for me. I'm sure you guys have seen how stoked I am on everything. It's actually further than that. Like, you guys can probably see how happy I am, but I am thrilled. It's been an amazing season. Going into the second season with them, I couldn't be more happy with the position that I'm in. The team is amazing to work with. They built a great car that runs all the time and is reliable. Everybody on the team cares and does what they're supposed to do. It's alleviated a ton of weight on myself to be able to concentrate on driving now. I'm not building the car, doing the motors, doing everything all the time. Now I'm actually able to do some videos and content like this. I'm able to think about things instead of just like now, go. So my whole drifting life and career has become something that I'm very happy about. I'm not stressed out as much. I'm not overstretching my limits. I'm doing what I need to do concisely, well, and at least what I believe to be now at the best of my abilities instead of stretching myself. So as a whole, the team's amazing, the cars are amazing, everything is really like a dream come true. So Vaughn and I get along really, really well. We get it, we both vibe the same. Like, the team is hilarious, they're fun, they're exciting, they get their jobs. Like, it's just, like I said, if I could tell you how I wanted to run a team, it was how this team is ran. So overall, stoked on that. 2018 and foreseeable future, we're going to be working together, so pretty rad on that end. As far as what we're going to change in 2018, livery will be a little bit different, but keeping my big heavy tones on everything, wanting to keep the purple and keep the design that we had. I really, really loved it. Lindsay knocked it out of the park with that design. So stoked on all that. We're going to be changing the power a little bit. We're going to add just a little bit of power, mainly by just helping with the power band, maybe shifting it a little bit, making it a little bit easier for me to drive. The motor had so much power band and bottom end power last year that I felt, maybe we could give up a little bit and get a little bit more on the top end, and I think that Roush Yates is going to be able to do that. We're also going to shed a little bit of weight off the car, so I'm excited about that because it'll help with me being able to react in the car. The car will be more reactive, the tires should last longer, our power should go further, and it should be overall just a little step in a better direction because we already had a car that was very reliable. We don't want to change or lose any of that. So little baby steps for tweaking improvements that are the most important and most valuable. Similar to how I do all of the builds and cars that we've been working on in here, just kind of explaining the simplicity of, or the value of keeping things simple and within reach at all times. As far as Formula D, big changes going on there. 2 rounds have changed in FD. They're no longer doing Canada or Irwindale. Canada has been replaced with St. Louis, so I'm super stoked on that. Here's why. I loved Canada. I loved the fans. I liked everything that they had going on. But I really, really like road courses and not necessarily want to be at oval tracks for the whole season. So it's great to put another road course on the map, Gateway International Speedway. We're going to be there in August, so pretty stoked on that. I got to stop saying stoked, but I am stoked. I'm so happy for all of this. Canada, cool track, was neat because it had a little bit of oval action, a little bit of infield action that was more road coursey. Again, fans are awesome, the camping, the whole, everybody was cool. But again, like a lot of the teams had to do a lot to get over in Canada to be able to, the cost was high, getting across customs and dealing with all that, had to be very, very professional with that. Some of the guys on teams couldn't go because of issues that they had going into another country. So it's like really kind of like, Not on our team, I'll rephrase that. But I do know there were teams there that had issues with that. And just the whole Cartier and like having to pay and get over there just was very, very difficult on a lot of the teams, whether they were huge budget teams or privateers. So St. Louis is cool. I haven't been there in 10 years drifting on Gateway. I drove a Nopi event there a couple times, or drove Nopi events there a couple times. Track is cool, road race course. That part of the area is really, really drifter friendly. There's a lot of drifters from that area, and we haven't had an event there, so I'm stoked to be a part of that and get the first Formula D event in the Midwest area, or in a while at least. There's some new drivers in Formula D coming in. Jerry Yang has a new driver in the Robbie Nishida's old car. I think the guy from Italy in the Ferrari is coming over. I don't know a ton about him or any of his program, so I won't really spread any rumors or start anything, but should be sick. He's got a 599 drift car. I think he's supposed to come. I've heard rumors about that. What else? You got Forrest Wang coming back, as far as I know. Kevin Lawrence coming in Pro 2, or coming from Pro 2 into Pro 1, getting a program together. Ryan Littoral going back to Pro 2, starting driving with a 350Z. A lot of new stuff going on as far as drivers. Pat Gooden's not going to be driving this year. It's cool. He's in Australia. He's going to be doing some driving there. And doing some help with OSW, a bunch of different action going on for him. He's kind of reliving his or reevaluating his drifting career. I know he wants to come back, so we'll see. I know he just wants to have some fun and shred and have a good time this year. So mad respect to that as well. That would have been me if I didn't pick up the RTR deal. I would have been going and driving events and just having fun and keeping some partners excited about everything, and doing what I love to do. And I think that's what everybody here is trying to do. So that's cool. A couple Pro 2 dudes are staying in Pro 2. Travis Reeder, I spoke to him. He's going to stay in Pro 2. He's still trying to get budget together. Should be pretty neat. You'll see a video out of us driving together either before or after this video. So he's local. We shred together, so it's pretty rad. But yeah, overall, St. Louis is a new event, new drivers, a couple drivers dipping out, but no big deal there. The big deal is Irwindale's gone, or not gone, it's still there, and it'll probably still be there because they probably won't ever get rid of it. It'll just be there. I don't know what's going on with it, but Vegas is going to take the spot for that for sure. It's confirmed. I don't know where in Vegas it's going to be. I would assume Vegas Motor Speedway on the Bull Ring there. They have a road course as well. I'm really hoping for that, but I think they're going to end up using the Circle Track Bull Ring. So it'll be a new final fight area in Las Vegas. It'll probably be a night event. Historically, FD events in Vegas have been night events, so keep an eye out for that and some more information. Cool. So stepping into the rules of 2018 Formula D, there are some changes. Here's the rule changes that I took note and actually gave a crap about. Some of them that I'm listing aren't a big deal. I'm just giving you some ideas of what the sport is trying to do and what the technical regulations are, what they're doing in the technical regulations to help persuade the sport in a direction of their choosing with the driver's feedback. The drivers have been giving feedback all year. Formula D's been listening to it. They've been really open ears about most of the things going on because drifting is growing at such an alarming rate, and there's so many different drivers and tires and cars and suspension setups and all sorts of different things going on that's really becoming difficult for the judges to do their job, and becoming difficult for the drivers to even do what the judges are saying. So the sport is evolving so quickly that the judges have to evolve with it. So, obviously they have a really tough job regulating all of this because we're basically just building insane, ridiculous cars and driving them ridiculously close to everybody and having insane runs, but everybody's changing their style and their cars and their grip levels and their everything. So the judges, I think, are actually doing a really good job as far as helping depict judges and Chief Stewart and Formula D having depict the rules to regulate it in some way so that there's a bubble that everybody's driving in and no one is higher or lower. Everybody can easily fit within this bubble, so the driving can do most of the talking. So, rules. No other modifications may be made to the vehicle chassis, frame, unibody, including the installation of air jacks. So this is basically no air jacks are going to be allowed next year. I don't know anybody who was running air jacks anyway. There probably were. That's why the rule is there. But if not, maybe they were just doing it to keep the cost down and put everybody on the same playing field. But air jacks during competition and competition time out are strictly prohibited. So pretty much don't think you can use those at all. Carbon fiber, carbon ceramic, and carbon variant brakes or rotors are not allowed. Again, trying to keep the cost down. I don't know anybody who was actually running carbon brakes. Last year I drove a Supra in Latvia that had carbon brakes on it. The brakes were good, they worked fine, but it wasn't really, to me, it wasn't really an advantage of any sort. But again, if somebody has it, somebody else feels like they have it, and now all of a sudden the cost of drifting gets expensive and unnecessary. So that's why they have that rule, or they're adding that rule. And these are just new rules for 2018. So, all this, there's obviously a ton of other rules. These are just for updates to keep you guys in the know of what's new. Center lock, mono lug, center lug wheels are prohibited. So no single lug wheels, keeping it standard 4, 5, 6 lug. Viper, I think he has 5 lug now anyway, but keeping it actual lug knotted wheels. And then no carbon fiber or hybrid carbon fiber wheels. So again, probably just trying to keep the cost down. If people see a massive improvement because of carbon wheels or whatever, they just want to avoid it. In my opinion, they just want to avoid having people with $1,000, $1,500 a piece wheels, or $3,000 a piece wheels, whatever it might be. So this is one of the biggest changes that you guys will notice for this year. Pro Series vehicles, meaning Pro 1, are required to have stickers on each tire and or a contrasting color on a specific portion of the wheel. So you'll need a tire sticker on the tire, or a bright colored line on your wheel. Like one of your spokes needs to be orange or green or purple in comparison to the rest of the wheel. I don't even know if purple would work. Probably just neon colors. They do later state in there that if you have any questions about the visibility of it, just reach out to them and they'll let you know if it's approved. So your color choice and everything's going to have to be approved because it's going to have to be visible. And the reason they have that is so that the judges can have aid of seeing you pull the handbrake, lock the front tires up, use the brakes. They can actually see how much of it you're using. So I'm sure if they see, boom, stops for a second, goes again, no big deal. But if they see a long drag where you're like, oh, that person's running Nitto tires, and it's an NT05, and it's this and that, like, they hold the brake too long, handbrake too long, that's going to be a deduction, which has always been a thing. But now, people running black wheels and trying to get around all that. I mean, I don't know, I ran bright chrome or bright gold wheels, and before that I ran white wheels, so it's pretty obvious. But they're trying to get it to the point where the judges have a reference to be able to see if you're extensively doing any of the sorts. I don't think they're trying to limit the use of the handbrake or anything, because that's a tool that we have, and we have the right to use all the tools that we have in the car to run a 100-point run every single time. Because without the handbrake or locking up the rear tires or doing anything like that, there's no way you're pulling a perfect run off every time. You might be able to pull it off 1 in every 100 runs without the handbrake, but everyone's using the handbrake in Formula D. All the tracks are tracks that are high speed down to low speed, so you're going to need the handbrake on almost all the tracks that we have. But you hold it too long or do it too many times, then yeah, that's a correction. So the stickers and the line will depict that. Will make it very much obvious. Very much obvious. No, much more obvious on the actual act of handbrake pulling. So that's going to be cool. You're going to see a lot of wheels with lines or actual tire stickers. Next rule is going to be skid plates are allowed for protection of the engine and associated components. They should cover a minimal area, and they should be a maximum thickness of 1.125 for steel and 0.1875 inch for aluminum. Basically, what they're trying to do is limit the amount of weight you're adding to the car with those plates and the amount of chassis stiffening there. So, if you had a super light car and you're trying to make weight or something, you might have a really thick plate somewhere as a skid plate, but it's to add weight to the bottom of the car, or vice versa. They don't want it to be larger than that amount because they feel that that's sufficient. I'm in agreement with that. I think it's pretty simple. It's so people don't strengthen their cars or give themselves an advantage just by adding a bunch of large plate to the car. So, makes sense. All engine components and exterior components that support the engine, oil coolers, intercoolers, cooler lines, pumps, tanks, all that stuff, they have to be confined within the frame rails, which, if it's outside of the frame rails, you're likely to have a problem and get something hit anyway. If you hit the corner of your car and you have an oil cooler in front of the tire, like some of the JDM cars, you blow a hole in the oil cooler, not only are you going to possibly wreck your motor, you're also going to spray oil all over the track, probably cause you to crash, maybe the guy behind you, whatever, So yeah, keeping those within the frame rails, that's pretty obvious. I think most people were doing that anyway. No pressurized refueling. Basically, you can't have a filler tank that you fill the car up that's pressurized, like NASCAR, I think, and stuff run it, or Formula One, or some of the rally teams even. They have like a tank that's pressurized so the fuel can shoot into the car faster. Everyone's taking their sweet time pumping their fuel anyway, so that's not going to affect anyone. Again, probably just to keep the cost down lower. This is an interesting one to me. The clutch release must be manually operated by the driver's foot. So, obviously, the clutch has to use a foot. They don't want you to use a hand clutch. Only downside to this I see is like if you have an issue or a leg issue, or you don't have use of both of your legs, using the clutch would be impossible unless you did something else. You'd have to use the hand clutch. So they could potentially be limiting the drivers, limiting the driver, or removing drivers that have don't have use of their legs. And there's no automatic transmissions allowed. No automated turbo or timer type pneumatic, electric, electronic, hydraulic, or any other type of automatic shifting mechanism, meaning you can't have a paddle shifter, and you can't have a sequential shifter that uses an electronic sensor to shift the gearbox further back. You have to actually run a cable to that. It has to be mechanical. Again, keeping the cost down low. Everybody in Formula D already ran something that was manually shifted, I think. Maybe the Hollingers are not. Maybe they have an electronic shifter. I'm not sure. But either way, there's always a way to make it mechanical, so that's not a big deal. It would just be a matter of people that didn't have use of their legs for the clutch release, which you could protest that if you did have that issue. A maximum of 2 batteries are allowed, and both batteries must be connected and used. Well, this has been a rule for a while, but now it says must be connected and in use they added. That's going to be basically you don't run 2 batteries, one being a fake one that's just for ballast, because you're only allowed 50 pounds of ballast legally. So they just don't want you to be able to put 2 100-pound batteries in the back of the car. Again, trying to get away from any tactics that could be, give you an advantage by adding weight places. Plus, they probably don't want a 100-pound battery flying out of the car and hitting somebody. Or have somebody running 8 batteries, because it's totally unnecessary. It does, however, say that 2 batteries are allowed on vehicles with an internal combustion engine. So if you have an electric car, you can run more than 2 batteries. I know somebody might have a question about that. No electric cars yet in drifting, but I think that would be pretty awesome. I'm into that for sure. All right, another one that's going to change it for you guys as watching, and some of the people who are drivers, is wings that are multi-piece mounted on standoffs, and those that are not directly attached to the trunk will be prohibited at tracks where they may come into contact with walls, fencing, and signage. Examples are Long Beach, Orlando, Wall Speedway, Seattle, all the tracks that have banks. So here's the deal with that, is a lot of guys in Formula E run big wings, right? You can't run them at those tracks if it's on a standoff, it sounds like. Now, I'm reading it. That's what I'm taking it as. So if you have a GT-style wing on 2 standoffs, and it's going to come in contact with the fence, which it has, and it is going to get ripped off, you can't run it. So I'm actually for and against this. I'm for it because I've been behind a car that's lost a wing, and I've been hit with the piece of wing. Because when you're following a car super close, they catch the fence and they rip the wing off, it gets thrown behind the car or gets dragged behind it. And I've been hit with pieces of wing before. And they're not hard mounted. They get ripped off. So I totally agree with it on that point. It sucks, though, because now guys who ran a wing for purpose of setting their car up, they won't be able to run them at those tracks. But if they were smart, I'll let you know a secret. They shouldn't run them at those tracks anyway, because all of the circle tracks have high-speed banks and low-speed infields. So if you're trying to get around the bank with the big wing, you're leaving some on the table on the infield. Here's why. If you loosen the car up and make it easier to drive on the bank so you can get around the bank, then you go to the infield, you don't have that wind and aero and weight pushing down on the back of the car that you did on the infield, or on the bank. So you lose on the infield now because you can't adjust your car mid-run. So should have been running them anyway on the big tracks. A little secret there for you. Either way, I used to run them on all the slow tracks, even that had banks, things like that. But what they want is they want a wing that's actually attached to the trunk with no standoffs, or no wing at all. So duckbill, little RTR Jimmy that we have, the Rocket Bunny ones, like any of the actual mounting to the trunk ones, you're good. It's the one on risers, like a GT style wing. Can't run those at those tracks. Helmet visors must be closed during on-track sessions. That is obvious, but I catch myself all the time because I wear glasses, not having my visor down all the way because sometimes it'll fog up or have issues with that. Now it's physically a rule that you have to actually have the visor down during any run, practice, qualifying, competition, any of that. It says it has to be done. Again, not really going to affect most people. Now I have to just think twice and put it down. I feel like because I have polycarbonate glasses on, it's saving my eyes, but having that sheet down is going to be the best because that's going to stop anything from flying into my eyeballs, which is probably smart. Okay, so now there's a big one. Formula Dirt posted last week about not having any tires approved for Formula D for this season. So there's a big blank thing. It's listed in the rule book. Doesn't have any approved tires. That doesn't mean anything. Here's what that means. It means that the tires have not been approved yet as far as how they're going to be approved, right? So to me, what it means is Formula D is starting to crack down on tires, right? So in the past, it's been like, oh, your tire's 140 tread wear, you know, you're within the sizes, and we approve your tire. That didn't mean that some tire company or whoever could make custom tires later in the year or whatever, you know. So my big thing for that is hopefully it's a step in the right direction and they're going to regulate the tires stronger. So all the tires will be closer together. Right now you have a tire that does this well and does one that does this well and one that does this well, and I'm getting you guys in this game because that's actually above my waist, so it doesn't matter. But never mind. But yeah, so you might have one that's better here, better there, here, there, or better overall and lasts longer, does better with heat, or has more grip, or whatever. All the tires are very, very different, and they're going to always be a little bit different. But it would be nice to have everybody within a smaller bubble instead of a big one. It just makes it hard for tandem, makes it hard for anything. The strategy starts getting out of control when you maybe have a tire that has way more grip than the person that you're driving against. or maybe their tire doesn't have as much grip on the second lap, or whatever it might be. It becomes difficult, either for better or for worse. So I think that they don't have that list yet, A, because maybe they're waiting for a new tire company to get to their stuff, and they want to be fair and list everybody at the same time. That makes sense. Or, and these are just my thoughts, or they're regulating it tighter, and they're going to be changing what tires can be ran in the series. Or at least listing more information on each of them. So, cool, I'm in for that. I really think that it should be closer, a little tighter knit, and allow everybody to be more. I won because of my setup in my driver, not because of, I have a cheater tire or whatever. It comes down to this. It's like Formula D does have certain tires you're allowed to run and certain tires you're not. Your tire company, if they want to be involved in Formula D, they do have to purchase into Formula D. Now, for what they purchase into Formula D for is way worth it. They get tons of marketing and aspects that they would have never gotten before. So the buy-in to get into Formula D is not much at all in comparison to what they get back in return. But they do have to buy into it, and they do have to send their tires in to get checked. And they do this because, if I was a millionaire and I was going to drive Formula D, and I was like, well, everybody else is screwed because I'm showing up with semi-slicks made by this company, and they only make the tire for me, and it's meant just for drifting, and it's super, it lasts, it makes tons of grip, it does all these special things, but on the street, it sounds like a dump truck because it's a piece of crap tire, or it's built for one purpose, or you can't even run over a rock without getting a hole in it, or they chop and feather and they're crappy tires, right? So the whole thing is this is supposed to be a street legal tire. It's supposed to be able to be driven on the street, and it makes everybody sit within a confined area. Whereas if I just wanted to ball out and buy these sick custom-made tires and just have this huge, massive advantage because I have the money, or this tire company maybe has the money to do that, it makes it not fair. So I get it totally, and it makes it so that it's not some random tire company coming into Formula D and maybe, not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It makes it nice because across the board, everybody's trying to progress this sport and make this sport better. So I agree with that whole tire situation. The other end of it is, for Pro 2, there's only 2 tire companies that are allowed in Pro 2 this year, Nexen and Achilles. And everybody's going to be running the exact same rear size tire, 255, 35, 18, which is more than enough to make a car do wild stuff on the track. So everybody has to run those 2 tires. Here's what's really cool about this whole deal is everybody gets hooked up at a flat rate price for the tire, right? Which is really cool because here's why. It across the board makes it so that everybody's paying X amount of dollars for tires. What it does is it allows every single person to not have to haul 40 tires to every single event every weekend that they run. So 40 tires, okay, whatever. So if you have a full-size 8-foot truck bed, okay, and you pack it full of tires interlaced like this all the way, as many as you can fit, and it's even above the cab, right? It is legit. You can only fit 26 tires, safely. So the whole bed of a truck is only slightly over half the amount of tires you're going to go through in a weekend. Imagine hauling that around everywhere you go, loading and unloading those tires for everybody every weekend. Imagine mounting all of those tires, or having to have a tire machine at the track every weekend to do it. Or having someone on your crew, their only job is tires, meaning go get these mounted, go check these pressures, that's their only job. So now you pay one rate and everybody's stuff gets handled for you. You show up, your tires are already there. The tire provider brought them to the track for you. You can just show up with your wheels, or you can show up with the stuff from last event on your 14 wheels and not have to haul anything else. And then they do all the mounting. They carry all the tires. I think they even dispose of them after all that. So it's really just handled. Track support, everything is all done. Anything related to a tire, those 2 tire companies are going to handle for you. So, and they're giving you a deal. So I think it's a great deal. There are some people in Pro 2 that weren't having to pay for tires because they had a marketing contract and they made it work. And now they might have to pay for tires, or maybe when they had all the other brands involved with Pro 2, you maybe found a deal from somebody to get the tires for $20 less a tire. But when you come down to it, by the time you mount it and you get it on the car and you dispose of it and you haul them around and do all that crap, you spend another $20 in crap anyway. So this is sick. It makes people have to be able to concentrate on the next thing that they have to do instead of tires, tires, tires. Oh my goodness. So I think it's really good, and it's going to level the playing field. Everybody's going to be on 2 tires with 2 sizes. That's it. Everybody's got to run the same thing. So now you can set your car up and you can drive, and then you can build your car however you want. But at least now the tires are within the circle. Only in 2 circles. That's it. It's sick. So that's really cool. I think that's a step in the right direction. I do like having a lot of tire brands involved. I do like having new partners and allow new tire companies to come in and put money and budget into the sport and marketing and the whole behind the scenes end of it. But for Pro 2, being that we should be limiting how many things the Pro 2 guys are doing, so that way they can concentrate on building their driving. I think that it's the way to go for sure. So I'm excited to see that. Should be neat. I just can't imagine. I would have loved that. Even when, before I joined the RTR team, I mounted every tire for my team. So, I did it myself as a driver and hauled all those tires and lifted 40 tires or 50 over my head into the trailer on racks every time we went anywhere or did anything, and had to dispose of all those tires. What a mess. So the rules have changed a little bit. They're just adding it. I don't really see any rules that are going to affect anything, just mainly lower the cost, and then the wing thing. I get it. Some people will be bummed because they like big wings, and the wings actually do work. But the reality of it is, I do get the other end of it too. So, so moving on to the next thing. There's been a lot of negativity about drifting lately, about professional drifting. I think there's nothing to be negative about. My thing is this. Think about this. Drifting has grown so much since I started. When I started, if you had new tires on your car, you were rad. That dude's got new tires on his car. Now, most of the time, you guys have good front tires on your car and are buying new or, used rear tires, but they're nicer tires, right? Nobody had angle. Nobody had... When there was a kid at our events that had an SR car, SR20, stock turbo and everything, and coilovers, and we were like, that dude has no excuses. He should be the best drifter in the world. Now, all of the recipes are out there for you guys to build drift cars. If you want to build an S chassis, you can go online, and any of the guys who are running FD or Pro-Am or Pro 2 openly tell you what to put in your car. The answers are already there. It has progressed so much from a standpoint of everyone helping each other out and everyone doing the best they can to support drifting and grow this sport, right? And it has. It's grown tremendously to the point of nowadays there's companies and products out there that want to market through drifting. Meaning, I have gotten calls now from people, hey, let's partner up. How can we do this? Other companies, other drivers, hey, how can we be involved in drifting? We want to be involved in drifting. That is new, recently. Before, all of us had to call these companies and find the right person to talk to, and obviously we still do that. There's still much, huge marketing and huge business end behind all of the Formula D stuff. But I'm saying all these companies are getting interested. They see drifting. They want to be involved in it. And it's building the sport in such a massive way. So I just don't see the negative in it. Somebody's Formula D doesn't even have a full field. Well, we do have a full field because top 16 is really what's going to matter. I get it. We don't have a full top 32. There's some bye runs and whatnot. But really, the show is top 16. And I'd rather have 28 dudes that are absolutely killing it out there than have 60 dudes and have 35 of them be not very good. You know what I mean? That's what I think. Or maybe they are good, but they don't have it together. You know, now there's Pro 2, so if you think about it this way, sure, there's only 28 cars in Pro 1, but there's also 30 or 28 cars in Pro 2, or maybe more. You know, so there's 60 guys that would normally be there anyway. You know, we're just split up to separate the two. So we have, you know, the Pro 1, which is the guys who have it together, and they're driving the best. They're the best in the world, you know, and then there's guys that are aspiring to be that. And now they don't. Those guys are aspiring to be that. Don't have to spend enough the money to run 8 rounds. They only have to run 4, and maybe they don't have an insane car. They can get away with having a simpler car and really put it on the driving, which is what it's about, you know. So as a whole, like Formula D, the fans are always there. They're, like the events are packed. Like it's so much vastly better than it ever was. And you have guys that are doing this and making. There's guys out here making a living off of YouTube vlogging drifting. Like, not even driving competitions. Driving for fun. Like, how sick is that? They're doing what they want to do, and they love doing, and they're making... I mean, they're not making a ton of money, but they're making a living off of it. I mean, there's dudes making a ton of money, too, but that's because they're doing something else. Or they've built themselves off something else. But I'm just saying, like, it's massive. Drifting's huge. Like, it's growing so massively. Like, where's the negative? Like, oh, Formula D, they made a bad call. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, yeah. Like, but you don't really know why they made the call. It could have been because of something you missed or didn't see or whatever. Or maybe you're not supporting this company. Like, you know, whatever it is. Like, I get it. But, like, if you're going to talk shit, and I'm totally for it, I talk shit all the time, just make sure you know what's going on. Like, don't just negatively post, oh, no tires, like 2 months before Long Beach, and no list of tires that are possible to be ran. Everybody who's in Formula D, that's running Formula D, knows what tires are approved at this point. It's just a matter of how it goes into the rule book. So no one's like, Formula D is not going to blindside anybody with anything, you know, like, and people be like, oh, they need to get their shit together. No, they don't. They're actually doing that. They're progressing what they've done in the past, and they're making it even more. Like, it's growing more. We're going to new venues. We're filling every event to the brim. There's standing room only at most of the events that we're going to, you know? So I don't think that drifting is going down at all. I think that there's a 25 or more % growth rate every year. And I think that what we're starting to see, though, is that there's quality over quantity. And I think that that's the way it should be. Would I love to have 60 guys that are absolute rippers and shredders at FD Pro 1? Yeah, that would be sick. But it doesn't necessarily need to happen in order for drifting to continue growing. That's what I believe. I won't rant too much. I just wanted to let you know, guys know that, like, yo, like, if you're going to be negative or be some keyboard warrior, like, at least know your facts. Like, if you're just going to keyboard warrior and you don't know what you're talking about, I'm going to be like, this dude's a douchebag. I don't need to do anything, or I don't even need to comment on it because he's so far out of his mind. But if you've got some criticism to say, or you have some ideas, or you have questions, like, FD drivers are here to answer them. That's the best part of drifting. Like, you can get a hold of us most of the time in some way, shape, or form, and most of the people will get answered. Like, all of us don't have all the time in the world to do that, but there's enough drivers out there and enough people that have been doing this for long enough that, like, it's a very open circle. Everybody can jump in, and if you want to learn and want to be a part of it, like, you can. Like, it's a sport that is obtainable still, unlike, you know, NASCAR and Formula 1 and whatnot. Like, dude, it's just, that's on a level, and the people are just totally different. We're all just trying to have fun, doing what we want to do and what we love doing, and that's what it's about. So, cool. you guys have any questions, which I'm sure you will after me rambling for 35 minutes, or however long this ends up being, drop them in the questions below, or the comment box below. I will try to answer them. I try to, like I say, every 48 hours, try to get in there and answer them, or within 48 hours. And if it's not like a question, it's just a comment, I normally try to click like so you know I saw it. But I am jumping in there and doing as many as I can every day. So if you ask some questions, maybe I can get another video going and respond to those questions. Like I said before, don't forget to support the Stanford Answer deal, the giveaway. That's going to be big for me. As long as we can get some good budget through that, we can start doing some cool content. I have some really, really good ideas, but I got to find some budget to be able to do them. And if you guys can help with that, that would be rad. So support the hustle, and let's keep doing this. I'm stoked to bring you guys some content and some news that maybe you wouldn't find anywhere else. Spread the word. Let's make drifting better. Later, dudes.